The NHL is a violent sport, we get it, but sometimes people forget how violent it actually is. Players have broken their limbs, assaulted each other, or even died. Here are near-death NHL moments. Chris Simon assaults Ryan Holweg. Ryan Holweg, a Rangers forward, had a bad day on March 8, 2007. Chris Simon of the Islanders struck Holweg in the mouth and throat during a game at the Nassau Coliseum. Simon was injured during the action, but he plainly lost his temper and viciously attacked Holweg with his stick as a weapon. Holweg lay prone on the ice for some time following the attack. He received a few stitches and eventually returned to the game, just like a genuine hockey player. As a result of his egregious behavior, the NHL suspended Simon for 25 games. Unfortunately for Simon, it would not be the last time he lost his calm and committed an act of violence that went way beyond the norms. Dale Hunter attacks Pierre Turgeon. There was no excuse for Dale Hunter's actions during Game 6 of the Islanders-Capitals playoff series in 1993, no matter how you look at it. The Islanders' Pierre Turgeon scored late in the game to all but seal the game and series for the Islanders. Dale Hunter of the Washington Capitals whacked the Isles sniper late, high and from behind, separating his shoulder only seconds after Turgeon's goal. Hunter was suspended for the first 21 games of the 1993-94 season, the longest ban due to an on-ice incident in NHL history up to that point. Hunter's action was the worst kind of cheap shot and had no place in hockey. Todd Pudi catches Steve Moore off guard. Todd Pudi of Detroit earned a place on the list of hockey's most cruel incidents on March 8, 2004 when he sucker-punched Colorado's Steve Moore, thus ending Moore's career. Pudi punched Moore in the back of the head before collapsing on top of the injured Avs forward, along with a few other players who joined the fight. Moore sustained a concussion, facial lacerations, and 3 broken neck bones. His hockey career had come to an end. Pudi was suspended by the NHL for the remainder of the 2003-2004 season and playoffs. He was not reinstated until after the 2004-2005 NHL lockout, which cancelled the whole season. Despite playing clean hockey since then, Pudi has a black mark on his record that will accompany him for the rest of his life. Ace Bailey nearly killed by Eddie Shaw. On December 12, 1933, Eddie Shaw was involved in one of hockey's most devastating moments. During a game between Boston Bruins and the Maple Leafs, Shaw was hit by Red Horner. Shaw spun around to see who had attacked him and incorrectly thought it was Ace Bailey. Shaw smacked Bailey from behind, causing his head to hit the ice hard. Bailey suffered a skull fracture and was transported to the hospital for life-saving surgery. Bailey barely survived the incident, which terminated his hockey career. On February 14, 1934, a game involving the league's top talents was arranged to raise funds for Bailey and his family. Shaw and Bailey touched hands after the game to make amends. Shaw received a 16-game suspension for the hit. This, aside to the fact that he wasn't subscribed to our channel, only added to his reputation as one of the league's meanest players. So do yourself a favor and subscribe. Howie Morenz breaks his leg. Howie Morenz's Hall of Fame career came to an end on January 28, 1937 during a game between the Chicago Blackhawks and the Montreal Canadiens. Morenz died on March 8th that year, most likely from a heart attack. When Morenz went to grab the puck, he lost his balance and crashed against the boards, catching his foot in the wood. Bill Siebert of Chicago landed on Morenz at full speed, causing a loud, shattering bang across the rink. Morenz's leg had been shattered in 4 places, and he was transported to the local hospital. He was never released from the hospital. He became unhappy, believing his hockey career was ended, and subsequently died of a heart attack. Many believe he died of a shattered heart at the age of 34. The Canadiens displayed Morenz's body at the Forum for public observation. Because of the horrific sound of the star's leg bones fracturing and his subsequent death, this occurrence has gone down in NHL history as one of the most devastating. McSorley hits Brashear in the head. Marty McSorley's NHL career was cut short due to a cheap shot. McSorley was a member of the NHL from 1983 to 84 through 1999 to 2000. In both Edmonton and Los Angeles, he spent the most of his career as Wayne Gretzky's bodyguard. He had more than 100 penalty minutes in 13 seasons, including 3 seasons with more than 300. McSorley sliced at the head of Donald Brashear on February 21, 2000, knocking the massive Canucks enforcer to the ice. There were only 2 seconds remaining in the game. Brashear's head struck the ice forcefully, resulting in a grade 3 concussion. McSorley was suspended for the rest of the 1999-2000 season and playoffs, and he never played again in the NHL. As a result of the event, he was convicted of a criminal assault with a weapon, his stick, and sentenced to 18 months probation. Ted Green and Wayne Mackey swing sticks. Despite the fact that it occurred during a preseason game, the stick-swinging incident between Wayne Mackey of the Blues and Boston's terrible Ted Green is considered one of the most vicious in NHL history. It took place in Ottawa on September 21, 1969. Mackey and Green engaged in a stick-swinging duel reminiscent of fencing. Mackey struck Green in the head, causing a broken skull and neurological damage to the Bruins' tough guy. He was never the same player after missing the whole 1969-70 NHL season. Green returned to the ice in 1970-71 and spent the next 2 seasons with the Bruins, helping them win the Stanley Cup in 71-72. The following season he joined the WHA, where he played for the New England Whalers and the Winnipeg Jets before retiring. Mackey spent most of the 1969-70 season in the minors and was not protected by the Blues in the 1970 expansion draft. He was chosen by the Vancouver Canucks and enjoyed 2 productive seasons with them before being stricken with brain cancer. He died at the age of 29 in 1974. Gordie Howe leaping on Louis Fontinato. From 1954 through 1961, Louis Fontinato was a rugged defenseman with the New York Rangers, but he met his match in a vicious brawl with Gordie Howe on February 1, 1959. The 2 athletes had a history of violent conflicts and fighting. Howe just trampled Fontinato to death. The hits to Fontinato's face sounded like an axe cracking wood, according to a Rangers player on the rink. As a result of the altercation, the Rangers' tough guy suffered a shattered nose and cracked jaw. After the battle, photos of Fontinato's bruised and disfigured face appeared in Life magazine and became famous as an example of how rough hockey can be. Clint Malachuk's throat is cut on the ice. It was an unintentional event, but it was such a horrendous disaster that it made the list of the most brutal moments in NHL history. On March 22, 1989, Sabres goalie Clint Malachuk had his jugular vein slashed open by St. Louis' Steve Tuttle's skate. Malachuk nearly died right there on the ice. According to sources, 11 fans fainted during the game, 2 suffered heart attacks, and 3 players on the ice puked. The team trainer, who had served in Vietnam and knew how to treat major injuries, saved Malachuk. Malachuk was able to return to the NHL and played 3 more seasons with the Buffalo Sabres before retiring. Bill Masterton's death. Bill Masterton is the only player in NHL history to have died as a direct result of what transpired during a game. The Oakland Seals paid a visit to the Minnesota North Stars in Bloomington on January 13, 1968. During the first session, 2 Seals players, Larry Cahan and Ron Harris, hit Masterton cleanly. Masterton stumbled backwards and landed hard on the ice. Masterton, like other NHL players in the late 1960s, was not wearing a helmet. People on the ice realized right away that something was wrong. Masterton's nose, mouth and ears were filled with blood. He was transported to a nearby hospital, but he died around 30 hours later. The death of Maston put pressure on the league to make helmets mandatory. That rule took more than a decade to pass, and even then it was grandfathered in, such that any player under contract to an NHL team prior to the law's passage did not have to wear a helmet.